In this lesson, we are going to learn some principles that Python programmers use to write better and efficient code. Open the Python shell by pressing Ctrl J and in terminal write Python and then press enter. If you want to see the Zen of Python, is a set of principles that help you write better codes. In here, write import this and press enter. You will see a bunch of principles that I will describe a few of them. The first is beautiful is better than ugly. Python programmers embrace the notion that code can be beautiful and elegant. As you learn more about Python and use it in writing code, someone might look over your shoulder one day and say, wow, that's a beautiful code. So people love beautiful things. If you have two choices, the first one, the code is messy and jumbled around, and another one is organized and clean and neat, tidy, go for beautiful one. The next is simple is better than complex. If you have a choice between simple and complex solution and both work the same, use the simple solution. Your code will be easier to maintain and it will be easier for you and other programmers to build on that code later on. The next and super important thing that I use it every day in my code and projects is this one. Readability counts. Even when your code is complex, aim to make it readable. When you're working on projects that involves complex coding, focus on writing informative comments for that code. Okay, that's the three and the most important rules that I think is very important. The other ones are also important, but I think these 3 or 4 one is enough. If you want to quit the Python shell, press Ctrl Z and press enter. And then if you want to terminate the terminal, you can press Ctrl J. Now, we are going to talk probably one of the most and important things in Python, which are lists. Lists allow you to store sets of information in one place. Whether you have just a few items or millions of items in the list. Lists are one of the Python's most and powerful features, readily accessible to new programmers, and they tie together to many important concepts in programming. In Python, square brackets indicate a list, and individual elements in list are separated by commas. Here is a simple example of a list that contains some names of people like this. If we have a variable called names of people, names of people equals a list. In here we can add some values like John, and if you want to separate values from each other, you can use comma. John, comma, let's say David, Caroline, and let's say Alicia. So how can we know that this is a list? If you hover over to names of people, you can see this variable contains a list, which inside the list we have string values that we talked before. So now you know how to make lists. Let's print the list. Names of people. Now if you hit the run button, you will see that this list will be printed. If you ask Python to print a list, Python returns its representation of this list, including the square brackets. The second thing that I'm going to tell you is how to access elements in a list. Lists are ordered collections, so you can access any element in a list by telling Python the position. This sentence is really important. Position or index of that item. To access an element in a list, write the name of list followed by square brackets. Inside square brackets, we have the position or the index of that value. For example, if you want to access the first item in a list, this is really important. You will pass in square brackets 0. Now if you run this program, you will see John will be printed. So why? Index positions start at 0, not 1. So if you want to access the first item, instead of writing 1, you will write 0. Python considers the first item in a list to be 0, not 1. This is true for most programming languages. So start counting from 0. 0, 1, 2, 3. But in here, if you write the index that's out of range of this list, you will get an error. What do I mean? So I can access the third item, which is Alicia, and the third item is the last index or the last position of this list. If I put 4 in here, so we do not have any item at position 4 or index 4, I will get an error. Why? Because list index is out of range. If you get this error, you should be aware and count and see if you made a mistake in index. Pretend if we have millions of items and the list is so big and messy and jumbled, you want to access the last element or the last value of this list. How you can do that? Well, in Python, we have a special syntax for accessing in the last element. If you ask the item at index -1, Python always returns the last item in the list. If I write -1, I will get the last item in this list. This technique is really handy. Also, we can use individual values from a list. For example, if I have a variable called message equals if we set it f strings, and in here we say hello, comma, and curly braces. Inside curly braces, we pass names of people followed by square brackets, and let's say we want to greet David. How we can do that? As I told you, 0, John is at position 0, David is at position 1, so in here we will add 1, and now if we run this, nothing will happen. Why? Because we do not say to do anything to Python. If we print the message, then you will see that hello David being printed. Another cool thing that we can do with the strings is to use string methods that we studied before. If you put a period or a dot after closing bracket, you will see a whole bunch of methods that we are familiar with because we studied in the last lesson when we talked about string or textual data types. We have a function called title followed by parentheses. The title method returns a version of a string where each word is title cased. So this title method will make the beginning of every word capitalized. So every letter that's in the beginning of the word will be capitalized. Now, if I run this program, you will see that hello D is the beginning of the word, D will be capitalized, David, which is really good, and I use it in my projects a lot. And that's it. That's it for today. And in the next lesson, we are going to learn more about lists, and we will make a mini project at the end. And I will see you in the next lesson.